And that giant cacophony tells you you're back with the Power of Three podcast. The Power of Three podcast that's here with three Scottish people, and you can sort of collect and build our regulars and see what you can come up with. I'm one of those regulars. I'm Kenny Smith. I'm also with another of my most regular co-conspirators. You better say hello.
Hello, I'm David Steele. Welcome back. Thank you for joining us. And if you buy my action figure, you get the left arm and left leg of the Builder Tom Harris figure, which is exclusive to this podcast.
Absolutely. And then the one that brings you the head of Tom Harris, it's our third regular. He's too busy giggling
it's
to
me.
tell him.
Sorry, I'm supposed to introduce myself, haven't I? It's Al Dewar. Nobody ever knows how to pronounce my surname. I'll get dispirited by this, but it's really? Al Dewar, coming at you from the sunny south of the country. But if I drop into a slightly more distinctive brogue, it's because I'm with fellow kinsmen tonight.
Yes,
that's allowed. That's allowed. Have you ever had your name pronounced as Alistair Dewar? As a war doctor.
I've had Dewar. Most people, in fact, say Dewar. Most people say
God
or Dewar. I've had Dewar. Funnily enough, the Americans get it right more than other people because they have the whiskey, but they have a tendency to do. Your name is Dewar, Alistair Dewar, because they obviously have Dewar's whiskey. Yeah. So they kind of, but in essence, they're closer than a lot.
That's interesting.
Do you know, I'm actually holding something here in my hand, Al. This is a present for you that I've been meaning to send you for ages.
What? Is this
a little miniature? It's better than that. It's Dewar's True Scotch Whisky, aged 12 years. And it's ironically called The Ancestor, because I'm sure when we spoke before, you mentioned you are distantly related to the family who founded this fine.
Well, my dad hails from Glen Lyon, which is just up the road from Aberfeldy, but there was one of the sets of Dewars that came from that side. Interestingly, I read something recently, which could have been a load of old bollocks, but I read something that said that the Dewars actually, that kind of contravened everything I'd heard. And so I said that the Dewars were a clan from slightly further north and slightly further west. So I'd be interested to sort of dig into that a little bit more. But certainly my ancestor comes from up near where the distillery is. But I suspect most people called Dewar probably.
Well, Dewar's Whiskey was founded in 1846 by John Dewar, and the Dewar family have lived in rural Perthshire for generations. John Dewar, born in 1805, founded his business in 1846 and pioneered the art of carefully blending up to 40 single malt and single grain whiskies together to make a Scotch that was fine, smooth, and never varied. So
yes, listeners, in a radical departure, we're going to get very drunk tonight on whiskey. It's the whiskey review episode, the long requested and long awaited whiskey review episode.
The power of 3 drams. It's pretty hefty. The whiskey connection is quite good.
Once we finish this, we'll sort out getting this bottle to you. So, in fact, do you know what? I'll bring it down to London when we go to the TV movie screening. So
that's what to do.
There we
go. Showing off.
Bring it with you.
But yes, we are not here to talk about whiskey tonight, as Dave said. We're here to talk about the 2026 Vortex range, which, of course, you told us last year you were looking forward to revealing all of them in one go. And here we go. 5 new figures plus a bonus 6.
Yeah. Well, I lied a lot of the time. I've been doing a lot of that recently. People kept asking if we were going to get everything at one time, and I kept saying, "Oh, I don't know," knowing full well that that was always the plan, and getting more and more jittery as we got closer to the reveal date. Because I mean, I'm on a bunch of not a bunch of forums, on a couple of forums, but specifically Outpost Gallifrey, and and I'm not calling them monkeys, by the way, but it's the infinite monkey cage. Eventually, people will hit upon the right characters at different times because people are talking about action figures and want lists and all the rest of it. So it's hard sometimes to differentiate between, is that just come up randomly or has somebody heard something? So yeah, so I've spent the last sort of 3 weeks slightly tenser than I'd like to be normally.
Yeah, well, so many characters, so many options. See what I did there?
Yeah, we got a bunch of new figures, which everybody. Well, I say everybody. That's never true. There's there's like 3 knobheads that.
Yes, and they're going to join us now.
The power of 3
here we are live.
Names redacted, but yeah. So we kick off this new range with set 1 in July 2026 with some Matt Smith and Capaldi era Cybermen.
Yes, we do, and it's quite exciting because it's not a Cyberman I mean, I've been quite vocal in the past that I didn't particularly like them. I don't particularly like them for a specific reason, which is, for me, the Cybermen lost something as they went down the years in terms of, even with the Earthshock ones, you could kind of tell there was a little bit of humanity in there and a bit of organic component. You knew it was a cyborg. You knew this was a robotized human, for want of a better word. My thing is that once you get into sticking a brain in a robot shell, it's just, and it has no emotions anyway, then and it's just my personal headcanon, but then you're just using the human brain as a wet works processor in a robot body. And at that point, it's a robot.
Very similar to the DC character Robot Man, or the different Robot Men. I hadn't really thought about that before. That's true. Yeah, I always think of the bit in the Five Doctors when the cyber leader gets shot by the Rassilon robot and spews up. But you can't imagine a modern era Cyberman spewing up, can you?
No, and even with the sort of 10th Doctor era ones, when they opened the chest up, we had that sort of blue gunk, and it was. So the last time we really saw, we did see brains in heads in the 10th Doctor era, but previous to that, it was the Earthshock Cybermen faceplate coming off, and the fact that they were rotting, and I thought, that's not something we've done. Anyway, cut a long story short, it's not that I don't like those Cybermen. I just found the design at the time very similar to the Iron Man armor, and I kind of thought, well, he's got a glowing boss in the middle of the chest. To me, it was just Iron Man. And then when they flew, it kind of just compounded that. I just thought, well, it's full on Iron Man at this point. So, but very specifically, these are not. So, I have said that these are not the Nightmare in Silver Cyberman, and that's because the Nightmare in Silver Cyberman they have a couple of differences. One is the silver is much brighter, and there is very little shading on the armor. So they actually look quite flat, and I went back and looked at the because we get reference photos from anything that we've requested. So I went back and looked, and they are very silver. They're which makes them look quite flat because the light kind of bleaches them out, and obviously in Nightmare in Silver they have the iris in the middle of the chest that opens and closes, which was then abandoned. But because they had that opening and closing iris, the chest boss has a sort of inner ring around it as well. If you flip forward to Death in Heaven and Dark Water, the armor has gone a little bit more grey. And it's got a bit of shading, and the undersuit is deliberately sort of slightly darker color. So the armor really pops off the undersuit, and it looks much better. And Iris in the middle is, as I say, slightly bigger and whatever. So that was the main thing. So I like that iteration better. So we decided that was the. Well, I say we. I decided that was the one I was going to do, because I just think it looks. Sorry, excuse me, drinking Coke. It looks just. It just looks better. That undersuit just pops in the armor with a bit of shading on it. And when I was developing the figure, the first iteration I got was all one color, and then I kind of looked at it and went, "No, we need shading on the undersuit." So I took photographs and said, "Color these bits, blah blah blah." It's the usual development when you're going through a figure, and then I was kind of like, "Well, we need a bit of a wash wipe, and the silver needs to go a bit darker." But we got there in the end, and the posability on that figure is insane. When people get it, they're not going to believe it. I mean, it's possibly. And having said that, I didn't like them in terms of the design and stuff. As an action figure, it's just absolutely brilliant to have in hand. It poses extremely well. It's got waist articulation as well at the sort of sub rib cage level, which I don't think came across in some of the images. So it's got a waist joint and a sub, so you can do stuff. It's got ball jointed arms, and because it's got internal pins on the arms, when you rotate the forearm forward, you think it's not going to work, and then all of a sudden it kind of just jumps into the right position, and it just all looks good. It all looks good. It all looks right. So I'm really, really happy with that figure. So as an opening shot, I don't think we could have done much better.
Is one of them the Brigadier, incidentally?
Yes, if you want it to be.
And be whatever you want.
That reminds me, actually, this is a good point to mention this. Friend of ours from up here, who's no longer with us, Martin Fairgrieve. Martin had a theory. Do you remember Handles from Time of the Doctor, from Matt Smithler? Martin's theory, and he stunned me rigid when he told me this, his theory was that Handles was all that was left of Cyberbrig.
It's not a bad call. I really liked Handles. I actually thought.
Yeah, me too.
In fact, at one point, I was desperate to do an AI interactive, because we were mucking around with AI at the time and sort of what you could get it to do. And then I was thinking, well, you could put an Alexa. You could put an Alexa inside a.
Oh wow!
It would have been,
that would be amazing.
But Handles is fabulous, and the humor is hilarious, and it's from that. I don't know if you watch, if you've got Disney Plus, but there's a character called Forky, which is from one of the Toy Story.
Yes. Yeah.
And he's kind of not very clever, but he just asks the same. He's like a kid. He just asks the same question over again, over and over. It's like, what is cheese? And then he'll go to the next guy and he'll go, what is cheese? And then there's a whole episode where he has a mate who is a ceramic cup who is called what? No. It's like, I know you're called what? No, because Bonnie's mum walks around. And Handles was very like that. For me, Handles was very like that. He would kind of go, the doctor would sort of say, oh, like, do this when I'm out the room. And he'll go, should I do it now? No, do it when I'm out the room. Should I do it now? No, do it when I'm out the room. Should I do it now? No, I'll do it.
Yeah.
So I don't quite tie up the thinking that he's the brig. But then, again, it's...
Well, he's obviously, I think Martin's thought is that Cyberbrig has flown off and then has kicked about for a few hundred years and lost his body and then has ended up in outer space, and certain systems and things will have degraded a little bit. You know, I think that was his. But it was almost, when Martin said this to me, it was almost as mind blowing as the whole Captain Jack's the face of Bo sort of suggestion. It was like, wow, that was the one thing.
Hey, I'm not against it. I think that would be a nice way for because the brig just sort of saluting and flying off.
Terrible.
A bit kind of like.
I hated that.
Can I ask what's the wee extra bit that comes with these Cybermen that's in the picture? This little.
It's the arm. So the whole lower arm detaches because even though I'm a fabulous toy maker, I'm not.
So that's still like I said.
I cannot make a cyber gun appear from somebody's forearm and they're 5.5 inches tall. So. Acknowledging my limitations, I thought, how are we going to achieve this? Do we just have a bit that pops off? And I thought, well, that's a bit crap. So I thought, we'll give them each a spare arm.
Cool.
So you can have your Cybermen standing there, kind of looking forceful and whatever, or you can rip their lower right arm off and put a replacement gun arm on. The fist is sort of clenched on that one, so
excellent,
sort of clenched and down.
Yeah, brilliant.
Cool.
So as I say, as much as I've derided those Cybermen, and I still have issues, that figure is freaking.
This is you giving the people what they want. It's been asked for, so there you go. You're doing what's requested. So there you go.
People ask, eventually I'll cave.
Which part of the Yeti comes with the Cybermen?
That is the head. Yes.
It's his head.
So it just started, so it's from the neck down.
I've got a decapitated Yeti.
We'll come to the Yeti in a wee minute or two. Not a disused Yeti, but there we go. There's your little enemy of the world joke. August, we have Shooty as he's dressed in the Christmas special from Stephen Moffat.
We hope. I mean, that depends on oil prices, shipping, whether I get my shit together and get it approved and sorted. But yeah, in theory, joy to the world.
Yes, thank you. So we've got him there, and he's with Mr. Ring-a-Ding and Dug-a-Doo.
Yeah.
Are Mr. Ring-a-Ding and Dug-a-Doo, are they articulated as well?
Mr. Ring-a-Ding's bendy.
Oh, wow.
Wow,
not
a bendy Ring-a-Ding
or anything like that, but he's actually physically
my Ring-a-Ding,
a wire-filled bendy figure with a spare head. You can make him grumpy, Mr. Ring-a-Ding, as well.
Oh, bendy grumpy Mr. Ring-a-Ding.
Bendy.
Goodness me.
That sounds
I have to say, I'm really pleased we're getting another Shooty variant actually, because it was handy that he wore the coat in that episode, wasn't it? Just to allow the shirt repaint underneath, and that's cool. I love costume variants.
This version of the 15th looks bloody amazing. It's better than any of the previous ones because
they were good.
The striped trousers and the what the factory have managed to achieve, because I thought it was flipping impossible, but what they've managed to achieve is amazing. And that yellow shirt just pops. Yeah. So, and also he's got new hips. So when we did the first shoot, his hips, he's had a hip replacement. That's the toll that Doctor Who takes on you.
Yes. It wasn't his knees, it was his hips, listeners. That's why you heard it here first. That's why he left.
I handed over a Star Wars Black Series figure and said, "Make his hips like this."
Right.
And I assumed that they would do the normal thing where the hips would move out and in, but they didn't. They only moved sort of front and back, so nobody noticed. Yes, no, they did. So he had not dodgy hips, but his hips weren't quite as mobile. So he's got new hips now, so he has inny outy leggy bits, as Crichton would say. Just like the real thing, I'm sure. Maybe that's why he walked so oddly down that big ramp in the TARDIS. It was because of his hips. Interesting. When he had his that all-in-one rubber suit that he wore in the well, it was his hips. It wasn't the suit. Anyway, no, yeah, it's always good to get a Doctor costume variant. It really is. That's the sort of stuff I live for. My dream is that eventually you'll do a B&M set of the Sixth Doctor with every single
permutation of his tie and waistcoat that he had on the cover of the New Adventures or the Missing Adventures. That's my dream.
But apparently, the one that's missing is the Sixth Doctor with a red cravat.
Yes, the trial one, which we've mentioned this before.
But obviously, if you do a trial version, you'd have to change the hair because he's slightly
yes. His hair is unacceptable in Trial of a Time Lord.
I find it unacceptable.
Yeah. I've waxed lyrical many times in the past. If I was to ever start a Substack, listeners, you can bet your backside that my third post would be about the state of Colin's hair in Trial of a Time Lord.
But the first two would be about Peter Davison's season 21 hair.
Well, the first one would be about how Katarina doesn't. It would be a rehash of my old article about how Katarina doesn't count, and the second one would be rating every Fifth Doctor story in order on the level of how good Peter Davison's hair is. So for £4.50 a month, what else do you want?
Well,
yes, anyway,
I think I'd rather spend a few quid more in September and get a new Fourth Doctor figure.
It looks lush.
Wait a minute. You can't just gloss over Dugadoo like that. As atrocious and offensive as that thing is.
I'm delighted there's an official one because my Katie made these and she was selling them for £5 each last year.
They're very nice. Do you know the BBC, not the brand team, they would never tell us, but the online team, who are brilliant and hilarious and gifted human beings, were telling me that apparently the most requested character is Dugadoo. I find it hard to believe, but apparently that's true.
Blimey. A Dugadoo plush or a big...
Anything
Bendy.
To do with Dugadoo.
Wow.
In fact, one of their questions was, could you do a Dugadoo plush? And I kind of bit my tongue and said I'd go and ask the question, but I didn't. It's like I never do it. And
do a Dugadoo.
Maybe.
So if he went to the toilet, would he then do a Dugadoo doo-doo?
A Dugadoo-doo. Catch-a-goo-goo. Catch-a-goo-goo.
In
what's
Zero
that?
G.
Yes. Agadoo by Black Lace. Yes, we're spoiled for choice for songs to play out with this week, listeners.
Yeah.
So yes, back to this Fourth Doctor, Tom. It looks very Shada to my eyes.
He is. He's a mix. He's a very weird mix across two, actually, stories that are quite distant. So he's essentially a Robots of Death. Where he started was as a Robots of Death Fourth Doctor with the longer brown coat.
Right.
It's longer than his standard frock. It's the longest coat.
Okay.
Of all of the ones. But he has Shada boots and he has an interchangeable front, so you can take his Robots of Death tartan jersey off and you can, with the cravat, and you can put on his Shada waistcoat. So you can make him actually Shada, but he kind of is backwards semi-compatible with Robots of Death. What happened was that we were going to have swappable lower legs, so you could have his pirate boots or normal legs. And at the end of the day, the budget didn't stretch to it. So, in fact, by that point, the budget was woefully overstretched anyway. So he ended up being slightly more Shada than Robots of Death. But it's not much in it other than the scarf, which is definitely, I would say, more. It's the longer one, so it's definitely more the sort of 14, 15 season.
Yeah, bit more Williamsy. Yeah,
it looks fantastic. Really does.
It's lovely. The fabric scarf is nice as well.
Yeah,
so he's got. So you've got two heads with him. One is, somebody said solemn. It looks a bit that way in the Paint Master, but the Fourth Doctor was never solemn. He's just a little bit more serious. And the other one, he's sort of smiling. But I don't like the sort of weird manic grin that a lot of people do with the Fourth Doctor. I hate that.
Yeah.
So I was very specific. I chose a couple of expressions and Andrew Teal sculpted it. And we were trying to reuse bits of another figure, and eventually he ended up it was so sort of, it's age-old thing. By the time you're left with a set of hips, it's the equivalent of having a pair of underpants left. So it's like, what's the point? You might as well do it properly. So he's all new. So he's got ball jointed shoulders. He's got
Excellent.
I was insistent that one of the hands, he has a replacement hand, and one of the hands is the Tom stop hand. You know, where he used to walk in and he'd put one hand up.
Yeah.
Stop. Or hold on, or whatever, whatever the fourth doctor said. So he's got one hand that really nicely that can be held up, and you have the stop hand. He's got one hand that's a bit more cupped with some jelly babies.
Amazing.
Brand new Sonic that's not as sort of wibbly and soft and bendy as the previous one.
Do like a good solid Sonic.
Got articulated ankles.
Wow.
Yeah.
I wonder if there's a scale to scale bicycle available anywhere that would fit him. That'd be good.
There is. All you have to do is just and then you shard up for. So yeah, he's an interesting mix of a few things, but I've seen some comments saying, he's a single figure, but you get the biggest part of the Yeti with that figure. You get literally half a Yeti with that figure. Yeah. So I'm making, you get a shed load of accessories and half a Yeti. So shut up.
Yeah. Do you know what you should have done, Al? You should have got a marble, painted it silver, and that could have been the sphere from Shada.
Well, that's a fun, creative thing for an enthusiastic fan to do themselves, isn't it?
Yes.
They can blue tack it to his side of his head.
There we go. All the best ideas here.
Nowadays they have sticky dots, David, and they're transparent. they would make a much more acceptable sphere adhesion device.
Yeah. I'll bear that in mind.
Get yourself down the local bead shop and
yes.
a wee round sphere.
To scale.
Actually, get a couple of different sizes, because obviously that thing wasn't consistent on screen.
True.
All over the place.
True.
Yeah, as if we're talking about wee brown spheres, have we come back to the Duggadoo-Doo-Doos here? But
we have come back to the Duggadoo-Doos.
No, why don't we move on a month then? We'll go to October.
It's just occurred to me that do you remember in Shada the gatekeeper in the bowler hat?
Yes.
Yes.
I've just literally realised he's a living embodiment of Mr. Ben.
Yes, with the hat.
Yeah.
Wilkin. That's his name, Wilkin. Played by the actor who played Billy Bunter.
Yeah, that's right. I've not watched Shada for a long time. I really like Shada. I always get really depressed when Johnny Morris. I think Johnny Morris did a really good sort of breakdown of everything that happened on it once, and it was the fact that everybody was there, the sets were built and rigged and all that, and just the door was locked and they couldn't. And you're just like, oh.
It's more agonizing because obviously you can watch half of it in live action and then you're forced to kind of go, and they literally jump around. So you can have live action, then cartoon, and then your live action again 2 seconds later. And I agree with you. It makes for because I've never been a fan of the sort of animations they do. Funnily enough, I say that I was doing something else. I was painting a TARDIS and I was assembling a TARDIS. But while that was on, I had the Abominable Snowman on in the background. But it was more to listen to rather than to watch. Just animations, just me.
That's an interesting one actually, because when I did my big watch stroke listen through in the 2000s, Abominable Snowman, I found it interminable, but I found the animated one 100 times more enjoyable, just because there was something to watch rather than just listen to all these endless scenes of old men talking.
It is, and even when you look at I agree with you, and even when you look at the telesnaps that do exist for it, I agree. The animation this time, complete U-turn on what I said previously. I agree with you. The animation brings something to it, because when you can see the monastery and the actual construction of that quad and the big statue and stuff at the end, and the fact they're not trying to pretend that it's snowy all the time and it looks like Lake District or Wales rather, where they filmed it. It's better. I agree.
Interesting. Well, we'll come back to Abominable Snowmen a little bit later. as we go to season 7 now, Al, with Liz Shaw and a Primord.
Liz Shaw and a Primord.
Excellent.
What an amazing likeness that is. The figure just looks absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
It's fabulous. It's
both do, yeah.
Well, this was one that was leaked and it was kiboshed because of that, and it went in a cupboard, and essentially the tooling models just sat in my cupboard and got sort of smashed up and beaten up, and then eventually when I was putting together this line, I've got a thing for the season 7. I think it's great, and I really liked Liz Shaw, and having seen her daughter Daisy at a couple of the BFI things, I thought, well, maybe we should do it again. But I was never 100% happy with the original sculpt of Liz. It's one of those things when it was kind of in the back burner, and it sort of got put away. I hadn't even looked at it, and then when I pulled it out, I was kind of like, oh well, actually, it's not quite, because I just watched Spearhead, and she's such an attractive girl that there's an opening couple of shots where you really see her. I mean, she's beautiful, and I didn't feel the sculpt kind of worked as well as it maybe could have. So I had it. So again, it was one of those. It was a bit like the Cyberman, which was essentially we pulled the 3.75-inch CAD and looked at it, and it was all over the shop, and it was crude. So we ditched that, and the Cyberman was done from scratch. So Andrew did the Cyberman from scratch, and he did Liz completely from scratch, all over again, but still using the Joe Grant hips and legs with the boots. But the rest of her is, ball jointed shoulders and internal pins on the arms and lovely sort of, and the head, I agree, the head is fantastic.
Yeah,
and
it's
the
brilliant.
Primord, we did dig out the old, but he is Professor Stallman, so there's no point in redoing what works really well. So you've got Dr. Constantine's figure, which was in immaculate condition tooling wise, which has a slight off-center gait, and just was wearing exactly what Stallman wore. He's basically got a lab coat, linen suit underneath.
Yeah,
you literally couldn't. There was no point in re-sculpting that.
sure.
So that was absolutely perfect. So we used that, and then we used the Primord, and he's brilliant. He's fantastic. It's
a lovely shade of green as well.
Yeah, I can imagine people buying extras to lob the head off and stick it onto some of their unit soldier spares, to create a kind of. They'd have. No, the thing is that they're not unit soldiers, are they? I've remembered. Well, I'm sure.
They're
I'm sure someone could do some repainting and all that.
They're all universe soldiers.
Yeah,
but
I'm sure.
Stallman had a
custom guy would
particular look to him. Again, that it's all paint masters in that lineup, so there was a couple of little tweaks. The nose was quite black on the original paint master, and I felt it made it look a bit odd. So I bumped that more to brown, and it kind of works with it. So it actually works a lot better.
Yeah, I remember that. It was a bit more sort of Cowardly Lion, wasn't it? It sort of had that kind of look. I remember when you showed it to me before. It was that was.
As I say, I bumped the nose from black towards brown, and it just suddenly all kind of worked a little bit better. So that looks really good. But again, it's a stonking figure, and it's just, when you think of the Primords, they're blatantly ridiculous in reality, but yet Inferno is by far and away one of my favourite stories from that entire season. It's just brilliant.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Stands up very well. It's really good.
My problem with season 7 is that I watch Spearhead, then I just have to end up watching all the other ones as well, because I just can't. It's like Pringles, once you pop, you can't stop.
Yeah, I like Inferno because there's an amazing scene when the Doctor takes Greg to the TARDIS console, and Greg's like, "Was that it?" and it's what do you expect? Some kind of space rocket with Batman at the controls. It's amazing. Mention of Batman, superb.
Yeah,
love
it's
it.
good. It's very good. And then, of course, Al, season 12. We've now got a monster figure from every story that season now.
Wow.
You have no idea how many years I've wanted to do it.
Oh, I know you've wanted to do
idea.
this. We've talked about this privately, but yes.
Brilliant.
It's incredible.
Idea how long I've waited to see it. And in fact, Andrew, when I said, do you want to do, he said exactly the same thing when I said, do you want to sculpt a Wirrn? He said, you've no idea how long I've wanted to sculpt a Wirrn action figure. I was like, yeah, you and me both. So the Wirrn came along, and then you've got to make decisions like how does it stand up, and there was then discussions about which way should the pincer face. Should it face forwards or backwards, funnily enough, it started off backwards, and then he redid it off his own back facing forwards, and it instantly looked more aggressive. And it's funny when you see it with which again in the picture you can't really see what's going on, but the whole bottom of the kind of abdomen curves, because obviously if you look at any of the studio shots, it goes right down. So when the Queen's on her back having fallen out of the cupboard, you do see the pincers for a very brief second. After that, you only ever see things like in fact, I think the Target novel cover actually has the brown brogues. Andrew was showing me that the actor inside the suit, you can literally see his kind of feet re-represented in the. So there's a couple of. So the minute you kind of curve the abdomen under and you put the pincers on, the pincer on the front, it was kind of a creepy monster anyway, but the minute you do that, it becomes very...
It becomes menacing. It's just looking at it, it really does look like an angry wasp.
It's lovely. And we did... it's funny, certain things... You do certain things, so his eyes started off being very amber coloured, because I had this memory that they were sort of amber.
Yeah, sort of amber in the book cover, aren't they? Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a slightly different cover or image that I was shown. But anyway, there's a couple of very classic images where you can see the brown brogues of the guy inside the suit at the bottom.
I'm gonna have to go do some more digging. That's hilarious, absolutely hilarious. It's like when I think there's a painting of Broton somewhere where they include the microphone.
Yep.
Yeah, the microphone ended up being on our action figure as well. It was quite.
He did indeed.
And yet, for some reason, our one is silver, but in the TV show it was black. So it was we kind of got that wrong. But
it looked good. And it even comes with a little grub as well. Grub.
Well, you have to pick your grub, don't you? Because there was three grubs in that one. There's the first one that you see that's a bit like a jellyfish. That has a sort of flat edge. And then there's the one that scoots across the floor and
sleeping bag
eats.
Yes.
So it's based on the sleeping bag version. Slightly smaller than the sleeping bag version, I would argue. And then there's the bigger one that attacks the doorway and gets sort of shot with stasers. And then there's that horrific thing that's sitting inside the solar stack that nobody kind of explains, but it's all.
The one that gets Noah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's something trapped in your solar stack, but at the rate it's growing, it's not going to be trapped for long. It's just
very good.
Fabulous story. I haven't watched that for ages.
Yeah.
It's another story. It's just brilliant.
Yeah.
But yes, the Wirrn, and then we've got a lot of decisions with the Wirrn, because obviously the Queen is supposed to have been sat in a cupboard for a couple of thousand years. So when you see her, her colours are quite muted, and obviously they painted the eye with a bit of Copydex so that Tom Baker could pull the skin off it and stuff like that. And then when you see the Wirrns, when it's kind of a Wirrn, when it's Wirrn, when it's Noah, and it's Wirrn around inside the ark in the control room area, the colors are actually slightly different there. So you got a bit of judgment to make when it comes to Wirrn colorization.
Interesting.
And we think they've got a hard job when it comes to doing the Christmas episodes, like the War Games and the Daleks.
Aye, try colouring a Wirrn, you bugger. That'll sort you out.
Yes,
absolutely. Now, Al, we mentioned Abominable Snowmen earlier on. Here, of course, we've got this wonderful new Abominable Snowmen version. So, was this fairly easy to sort out rights-wise? Because I know that previously there were issues.
Yes, well, I've been down that path before, and the Hazeman and Lincoln estate, there was issues in the past, and I tried desperately to get in the middle of that and try and get it sorted out so that we could do the action figure, but it never was, and then it kind of just got fixed. So when I went back to ask about doing the Abominable Snowmen, they said, yeah, no problem.
That's fantastic.
Good.
It's all done. And then, obviously, as I think I've said before, the original sculpt was a bit beaten up. That was the only version of it.
The Web of Fear one we're talking here.
Yeah, the Web of Fear one. It was the second one. But funny enough, that wasn't the issue I had with it. The issue I had with it was that when I stood it alongside Tom Baker, because there's always a Tom Baker on my desk. When I stood it alongside him, I thought, this thing's bloody tiny. It's really small. And I started looking at the reference photos, and I was like, when the Yeti is, because it's a costume, so the Yeti actors, I assumed, were sort of, give or take, 6 feet odd. And the shoulders line up with the human actors, so it's a guy in a suit, so the shoulder of the Yeti has to line up, but the actual head shape that goes up takes it way above the height of a normal bloke. So in fact, it was we got the CAD, and they said, "Are you happy? We'll go and make a tooling model." And I said, "Yeah, no problem." And then I did a slight double take, and I said, "Can you print it out so that I can see what scale it's going to be?" Because we've got the 3D printer at work, and we use that a lot. So there's a lot of printed resin figures right in my desk. And when they printed it out, I thought, right, the scale's wrong again. So I had to then get Nick, who's brilliant on the CAD side, and I got him to sort of sit them side by side, and then we resized it, and again just brought the shoulder height up to roughly where it would have been on a decent sized actor, and compared photographs, and it's flipping massive. It's flipping massive. It stands about 16.5 centimeters.
Wow. Blimey.
So it's not small, and it's about half a kilo of PVC, so you could throw it at somebody and probably end them, I think.
Death by Yeti.
One judicious throw of your Build-A-Figure Yeti, and you could take somebody's life easily.
Not that we encourage murder on the Earth 2 podcast. No, we don't encourage murder on the Earth 2 podcast. We don't encourage it here either.
that would fall under there's a word we use in the toy world for when you use a product for the wrong reasons. So I would fall under that distinctly. So that was a bit of a story on that one. So the original Web, and also, so having ditched the Web of Fear one, I kind of thought, well, screw it, we shouldn't really start with the Web of Fear. What we should do is do the original Yeti, but try and do it properly. The other issue with that, the original sculpt, was to articulate it would have been a nightmare. So I thought, well, if you're going to compromise it and you're going to give it legs and arms, and I'm going to start with this creature that's going to move and it's going to have some articulation, and it's version 1 Yeti, it's going to be a big old beast. So that's what we did. So again, it's compromises. You got to compromise. all the way through. When you're making action figures, it's a decision-making process. What do you keep? What's important? What do you keep? But funnily enough, by the time you get a bit of waist articulation in and head articulation and the big ball-jointed shoulders, I mean, somebody said, "Oh, you've used a different prototype in this image than you did in this image," and I'm like, "It's not. It's exactly the same prototype, but it's so posable.
Yeah,
you can make it look massively different just by bringing the arms up and turning the hands in to a aggressive stance versus it standing down slightly, sort of half twisted. You massively change the whole look of it." And then we had some extra details like what wasn't obvious actually in the program, and you even see it in the animation, is that they do it as a complete cousin It. So they have the Yeti like cousin It with no facial features, but actually it did. And there's a behind the scenes documentary. So again, when Andrew was sculpting it, I sort of said, "Look, I've got a bunch of images where you can kind of half see tusks and you can just maybe see eyes and stuff like that." And he said, "Oh, you want to have a look at this documentary?" And it was done at the same time, but it was a behind the scenes one. And you can very clearly see that it's got eyes and it has two big tusks at the front. So I said, "Well, we're keeping them." And you could tell there was a sort of void in the back, and there was obviously a mesh for the actors to see out, because obviously this head is like massive. Yeah, so it was so we got all those details. But if you really feel strongly that the Yeti shouldn't have tusks and eyes, you can just turn the head back to front. It literally looks like the one from the animation. So, it's a win-win.
Fantastic. And of course, that means you've got the legs there, because they were the same when they did Web of Fear version. So should the future require it?
Yes. Well, it's a very different shape, the Web of Fear variant. It's a very different... it's a very different Yeti.
Shaggy yak wool or something used on it.
There are some quite... Obviously, you get to see, I think, on that one more of the fact that it's a robotic creature. I didn't realize that apparently the designer, the reason it changes between version 1 and version 2 is simply because the designer didn't like the original version.
Right.
And wanted to make them fiercer, so that's why it ended up with this sort of glowing eyes and the
interesting.
Completely.
Yeah, I think I prefer the web design personally. Yeah, I think they're a little, because the first ones, to my eyes, sometimes not as bad as the downtime ones. They kind of look like a sort of discarded couch that you've driven past if you're taking a shortcut through Vegasley Park. Do you know what I mean?
They're quite
the Web of Fear ones,
they're quite square looking.
Yeah, the web ones are a little more creature looking, a little more like a proper beastie, I suppose I'm saying.
Yeah, and
thank you, Jamie. A big tower.
Knowing where they were going to be in the underground setting, in the dark, I think having glowing eyes and the revised sort of face, and a slightly less bulky lower half, I think that really lends itself to mobility, because there's some black and white images on Tragical History Tour of the Web of Fear Yetis out and about, and there's about 4 of them. They're packed in.
I've got about 40 images from the Daily Mirror archive on my laptop, so they're rather nice.
So it's probably them. So when I go to do a Web of Fear, I'll just give you a shout, Kenny.
Absolutely. One text message later, they'll be with you. Fantastic. Of
My inbox is awash with bloody Yetis.
Should of course mention now that it's been announced as well that there's some more Sonics on the way later this year.
Yes,
that wasn't. There was nothing particularly. So everybody was like, "Well, why can you tell people about Sonics and you can't tell them about the figures?" And the reason is that the Sonics are general release at retail. There's 3 variants being looked at: a Davidson style one, an 8th Doctor one, and the Master's laser screwdriver. It's a modest amount of each, and they're going to go to whatever retailers want to have them. I think the Who shop have put them up and said they're almost implying that it's their kind of exclusive, and they'll probably charge more than anybody else because that's what they do. But you will. The whole point of them was that all the little independents that don't usually get a bite of anything, Doctor Who could kind of order these Sonics if they want, because as we know, the way retail works is there is a lot of small little independent shops, so it was really to give them a bite of the pie as well. So
good.
And they're the electroplated ones, and they're kind of, they haven't got anything particularly new or whiz bang, but the electroplating makes them look really, really nice. And the electroplated laser screwdriver is pretty cool. In fact, it's a bit unfortunate because had we had this call last week, I had them 3 sat actually at this desk. But they went back to work and got casually tossed into the bin. No, they didn't. They got
Penny's face there, listeners. Oh dear.
They got put. Yeah, they're back.
You know how to torture me. You really know how to torture me, Al.
Yeah, back at my desk. The control samples, that's the thing. And whenever you do development, you need to have a control sample, which means that you always have to hang on to each iteration that you get through, because otherwise you can't always see what's changed and what hasn't, and if something's changed or everything's changed. Everything is a control sample.
Absolutely. And of course, we should say that there will be some more B&M figures later this year as well.
There is, and it's nothing to do with me this time. I basically said I didn't want to do the B&M stuff. All it brings is pain and angst, and takes away budget from my lovely Vortex line. So, no, it doesn't take away, but well, not this time, because there's nothing been done new for these. So they're straight repaints. That's all I can say, because it's not really it's not mine to talk about. The only thing I can say is they look bloody good. There's a mix of stuff in there, and I think people will be shocked. I would say, because the figures that it's Jason at work, who's brilliant. He does all the packaging, so he's looking after it. So the figures that he's chosen were ones that were obviously previously had the slapped on paint, as I call it. I'm not very pleasant about it now, because in hindsight it was week up week. Having moved to not having paint on the faces, it's made such a difference. But in this case, I would say the difference is utterly staggering. I literally looked at these figures and didn't recognize them. I was kind of like, holy hell. I had no idea the base sculpts on these were, well, not the base sculpts, but the base moldings on these were as good as they've turned out to be, and with the revised decoration, I would say people will be stunned at the difference.
Have these been announced yet? Edit point here, obviously. Right, cool. Okay.
No.
Cool. Don't tell me then. I'll wait for the surprise.
No, like I say, it's B&M, and I kind of I'm always on the fence with B&M. I think B&M deserve a massive Brigadier-esque salute for having kept the Doctor Who line going for a long time, but it's very difficult when you're trying to get a Vortex line where you're spending money and making new product to a very high level in much nicer packaging and all the other stuff that goes with it, to then know that somebody can walk into B&M and for 24 quid buy three figures, which which works out sub 10 quid a figure, and it's just it's stealing from 20 years ago, and it is what it is, and people seem to like them. So I will say this year that they've ordered less. So B&M have ordered less. So whether that's going to cause more of a panic at retail or not, it will be interesting to see.
I was in the one that's sort of the one I'm in most often, the one that's most local, I suppose, the one quite near my mum in Paisley. And last time I was through a few weeks ago, I went down. They didn't have anything at all, and they didn't have anything left. And they often did. You know, the Deadly Assassin ones were there for quite a while. You know,
I'm still hearing stories of some of the stores with masses of stock.
Yeah. It's bizarre because
one of the issues is stock control.
Yeah.
And I think, like everybody else, B&M are probably having a hard time as retailers. Yeah, everybody's out there. Retail is incredibly difficult.
Yeah.
You know, the reason we can do the Doctor Who figures online is that you know, to a degree it cuts out the middleman. So all the money, and it is a lot of money, that goes into these new figures.
Yeah, and people should sign up for them on the website.
Well, it's up to people. Everybody's entitled to their opinion, and some people will moan, and I've already been seeing people saying, "Oh,
I shouldn't have to buy, 5 sets to get a Yeti. I'll wait 15 years and it'll turn up in B&M." You know, it's like just what's that? You know, it's like it's not gonna turn up in B&M.
Yeah,
I can 100% can guarantee you that ain't gonna turn up in B&M. And if you want the Yeti, you are gonna have to buy the sets. But that's what the whole reason behind collect and build is, that we're investing in a series of figures.
Yeah.
If everybody buys into it, then it kind of all makes sense, because everybody buys the same amount.
Yeah.
And you know, they get something nice at the end of it. There will be people that won't want to do that. There will be people that can't afford to do that, and I 100% get that as well.
Yeah.
But it is definitely biased towards people that do want to buy and get a Yeti, and the system is set up so that it prioritizes the people that want to get the Yeti. So it won't be as obvious when the first set drops. But if the people that bought the first set, they will get some sort of code. I think that, I'm not au fait with the system, but there's a code set aside that basically pre-assigns stock for you. So if you buy in and you buy the first set, you're automatically, or 2 of the first set, or 3 of the first set, you're automatically pre-assigned the chance to get 3 more of the second set, and then so on. And if you decide to opt out, you opt out. And
that's good.
If you buy one further along the line, you can. But it's 100% biased to get people to collect and build. And you get that Yeti figure is freaking one. It's massive. It's really cool. It's worth the wait. I mean, bear in mind that within 3 sets, you're going to have most of your Yeti. You get the head, then you're going to get the upper chest, then you're going to get literally the hips and the legs. You have a complete Yeti body by set 3, and then you're just waiting on an arm and an arm. So yes, but it looks friggin' brilliant, and it's massive.
Well, we cannot wait to get our hands on them. So
very much so. Exciting. Are there any other Build-A-Figure type ideas that you've had, Al, that any other characters you think would justify the Build-A-Figure?
Yeah, funnily enough, the Yeti was not my first choice. The Yeti was my second choice after the Candyman. I wanted to do the Candyman.
God, that would be amazing.
I got some behind the scenes pictures of the costume
from Rob Alsop.
Well, I don't know, not directly from him, but indirectly.
Yeah.
Yes. And that's a figure that was the one I wanted to do, because it was massive and it's very colourful.
Mm-hmm.
And as a figure, I could have done a freaking brilliant figure of that.
Mate, honestly, that's closing on 40 years I've wanted a blooming...
Well, we can't. So we can't do it. So and I think it would have been an interesting Build-A-Figure.
Yeah.
I think, because again, I would have made it massive. I would have made it, same as the Yeti. I would have made it tall,
because it properly towers over Sylvester, doesn't it?
It's huge.
Looms over him at the end of part 1. Yeah.
And David John Pope is quite tall as well. I think he's about 6'3", 6'4". So
yeah. So that's it, and big. So I just as a figure, I think that would have been, because in the translucent, you could have had like the limbs that were in the translucent frosted thing with the different deco and the sort of squishy sort of marshmallow feet, and and he's not. People tend to do the Candyman like he's sort of perfect, like he's got perfect look, but when you see the costume, you can tell it's robotic. There's wires and Rob also put stuff in there that is just astounding.
We heard him talking about this yesterday.
Come across on screen. But he was a brilliant figure. Brilliant.
Oh wow.
From one of my least favourite stories, but brilliant figure.
I'm imagining right now, etc.
Yes, I suppose it would have been a genuine brilliant one, but
for it. So.
Gosh, I've got to. We can't get the Taran Wood Beast now. Oh well.
Gosh, Kroll, a scale model of Kroll. Right, 15 big build-a-figure set. You know?
As long as nobody mentions Agador, I'm happy.
That would be phenomenal. I didn't even thought of Agador.
Don't, Dave. Don't look at the tortured-looking owl's face.
Or one of the eponymous mutants. That'd be good, wouldn't it? Suits you, sir.
Anyway.
Just imagine.
Yeah, absolutely, as Mr. Briggs would say. So there we go. Al, thank you so much for taking the time to join us and chat through these fantastic figures. The Fab Five with the Superlative Six.
Yeah, I think people have been. I like to think that most people are pleasantly surprised. Of course, like in true form, they've already moved on to 2027, and I'm not even there yet. So
I can exclusively reveal it's going to be Fifi. It's going to be the Sand Beast from the Rescue.
Yes, it's going to be a Fifi Drashig-esque hand puppet, 1-to-1 scale.
Mavic Chen, that would be good.
Yeah. And all the other ambassadors, like the Christmas tree one especially.
That's you heard it here first, listeners.
And the Vortex
Dalek Master Plan delegate
Cassandra with ball jointed frame
and removable brain this time.
Yes. I know that was a terrible oversight.
Oh well.
Not to worry.
Al, thank you. Well, as you know, we like to play out the tune, and I was thinking, based on the bonus figure, I was thinking of Sia and Snowman, because I love that song.
Oh my god. Where he gets these ideas, I
have no idea. I don't know. At least it's not the Pet Shop Boys this week. Open brackets. I really like the Pet Shop Boys. Don't worry about that, listeners. Close brackets. Al, you're a legend. Again, on behalf of everyone, thank you so much for your hard work and your attention to detail. And
as I always say, it's not just me. There's a massive team of, which is why when things leak, it really is frustrating. But this time, I don't think it did.
No,
but yeah, there's a massive team. You know, there's sculptors, there's me, there's guys that paint the stuff, there's the engineers who are brilliant at what they do, there's Jason on his packaging, there's the marketing people who are astounding, the PR people, the team that put effort into the Doctor Who line is big. So don't for 1 second think it's just me.
Oh no, and I think I was meaning character options in general, yourself in particular, but character options in general. It is appreciated. I know I'm sure there's some folk that probably just take it for granted and don't consider all the work that goes in, but Kenny and I certainly appreciate all of that.
Apart from that guy on Facebook who I disagreed with months ago.
More power to your elbow, as I always say. It's great. We don't know how. We've never had it so good.
Absolutely.
Well, this year certainly, I think.
Absolutely.
I agree with that.
And then coming in.
I'm sorry it's taken so long. I should have got my arse into gear, and
it's fine. We know it's all good. So there we go. Al, thank you, and we better hand over to Sia with a slightly festive song, but it's actually all about the abominable snow.
I'm going to give you a brigadier salute to both of you,
and to you, sir.
Before rocketing out of here.
Off he goes. Whoosh.
Bye, Al. We'll see you soon.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
See ya.
Don't cry, snowman, not in front of me. Who'll get your tears if you can't get